Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Na, 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 na. Na, na,
And insert
na.
any anime like intro like Sayu sense the
There's an
Diega.
Ega! Dun, 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 Ega! Oh my days, imagine Attack on Titan combined with like the imagery from Terminator 2's introduction.
Honestly, with Attack on Titan with its own time travel plot twist, I would put that in the same universe. And since basically at the end of it, they instinctually said even though that was in Germany, it was also in Japan also. So honestly, this could probably exist in the same universe. Just Japan is a modern day Eldia.
Yeah, it's not a day LD. Yeah, instead of Attack on Titan, it's Attack on Terminators. You can keep the T in there, so that works, yeah.
All right. Oh. Last episode that, and they even have Zeke Yeager as a black guy. I call him Zeke Dyson. I know he has Malcolm Lee, but that's not even his real name. They don't give us his real name actually, so I just call him Zeke Dyson from now on because he's basically a combination of Zeke Yeager and Dyson from Terminator 2.
Ah,
Which,
good observation.
definitely how he's characterized in the show is pretty fitting. He really is like a mixture with how extremely lofty is about the existential dread of human existence, and also of being partially responsible for Skynet. But also, wait, there's more. He's also not even from the same timeline as things in. He's actually from the future, and he's even further from any recorded, like all the way up to 2040. He's all the way up, and he made his own ChatGPT wife.
Yeah, ChatGPT wife. He did it several times. He specializes in that, apparently.
Yeah, and so that one was the basis for his own female Skynet, effeminate Skynet.
Effeminate Skynet waifu ChatGPT.
So he had to take that CPU that was from his first one, and then he created the female Skynet, the chaotic feminine version of Skynet. And it was apparently split up in 3 figures and 3 GDP anime waifus, but the end became one golden GDP anime waifu.
Polygamous ChatGPT.
We already have talked spoilers, so yeah.
Yeah. Major spoiler alert for this particular broadcast. We're talking about.
Yeah, if we hadn't already warned you that, which this should.
I should have put it in the title, but I did make a little heads up in the live chat, so
yeah,
they got no excuse here.
If that so Iko is Japanese Sarah Connor. Somehow was the mother of Zeke Dyson and the grandmother of this kid.
Oh gosh!
And one of the kids also in the future will send a Terminator to kill his father.
They're hinting at a season 2, so on the one hand, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that okay, they're gonna have some answers later on, but my days.
That was the twist. I swear. Can you please bring up? I'm gonna bring up a recording of.
Sure, if you can. Elaine Aroy86 has joined us. Hello. Thanks to have you here. We are both doing really well. In fact, last night when we saw the plot twist for Terminator Zero, not necessarily the fact that Malcolm Lee, who's Zeke Dyson, came from the future. I mean, that was a good plot twist in and of itself, but what came afterwards was specifically, it's the most hysterically hilarious.
I'm gonna bring up my exact reaction. I'm gonna share the screen. Just here you go.
Yeah, okay, you're in for a treat. You're in for a treat.
Yeah, you're for a treat. Yeah.
Oh man. you sharing the sound?
Oh, sorry, I just.
Ah, it's alright, it's alright. And feel free to share it whenever you got the sound on, but basically,
Oh wait.
yeah, share the sound, share the sound. So essentially, when we found out, or and in turn the audience finds out that the Aiko who was sent back in time to
It's the grandmother. It's the Japanese Sarah Connor in this instance. Like, it is absolutely mental. I'm like,
we concluded that it was like if Inception was directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It was the most...
And also co-produced with Kaijimi Aizawa.
It's the most hilarious confusion we've experienced for some time. It's...
Oh man. I mean, first when I have this 3-episode criteria, I thought this was gonna be good. It was gonna be interesting, and there was like this. There's a bunch of like I named some possibilities on what this would go. That they would all die in the end by Skynet.
Right.
Somehow they would all like, delay Skynet or Zeke Dyson's like quote like his answer would save them from Skynet. And in a way, I was right with the latter because basically Skynet basically saved Japan from the wrath of Skynet on the rest of the world.
Right.
And, oh, how convenient that Japan was saved, but the rest of the world it Holocaust.
Yeah, it is inconvenient. Country bias, maybe? You could say the same thing for America with the original series, but hey ho, whatever.
But no, hey, that wasn't a nuclear fire. No, this was not a nuclear fire. Japan was not a nuclear fire at all.
Right. Basically, the explanation behind that is because Zeke Dyson time traveled with the technology that he learned and applied it to the waifu AI who basically is Kokoro. That was her name. Yes, Kokoro.
No, Misaki. That was actually the first one. That was the mother.
Misaki. Yeah.
And man, like I don't even still know how to feel about the series with that ending. I mean, it's good. Do I want to say but I still want to bring up. I'm trying to bring up. For some reason I can't share my exact reaction, but don't worry. I think I'm gonna save that for last now.
Right.
Save that for the end of this podcast.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Twist, I swear, like, was the most batshit thing I've ever seen in anime, and that is saying a lot.
We have both seen the entire anime adaptation of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure so far, right up until the recent part, and this plot twist was somehow crazier than all that.
I think it's the additional add of time travel with how that always fucks with your head, so that additional thing where it's that metaphysical, like, yeah. So, okay, so Eco is and apparently that, so... Okay, before Eco travels in time from 2020. Okay, let's get the whole timeline down, shall we?
Yeah, we need to explain the timeline stuff first.
1997 is where inevitably, is where Zeke Dyson and his family's in. 2022 is where, or it was 2023. It was somewhere around that. I think it was 2023. Is where Eco travels back in time to 1997 to prevent Skynet. So she does this. Okay, simple so far. Then it a little goes weird when we find out that Zeke Dyson himself was born in the year 2025, and then it went 2029, and then it went to 2034, and then 2040. And then it went to 1983, where Zeke Dyson and his waifu went to 1983, a year before John Connor was born. A year, exact year before all this. and then somehow made him his entire life in that span to all the way to 1997. So apparently, so Eco went back in time for 2022, back to oh god,
When
I mean
Zeke
back to
Dyson had time traveled.
1997, but she did it before she could give birth to Zeke Dyson. So I get it. It's not Back to the Future. It's this.
It's not Back to the Future.
I also wish this was Back to the Future because basically all the kids would be erased and Dyson they'd all be erased.
Yeah.
Yeah. But technically we're going off Avengers Endgame logic.
Okay. Yeah.
Where your future past becomes the present, and your past and then your future. So we're going off of that sake. So basically, this is a new given the fact into the Terminator franchise, I think this is on point to 1983. They would go back a year before John Connor was born. So this is basically how this separates itself from the, franchise as a whole. Right. Basically deviating it from the timeline we know in Terminator 1 and 2.
Right.
So creating a new world in itself. So basically, this isn't even the same story as John Connor's story with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sarah Connor that we know, and Kyle Reese. Those characters basically don't exist in this one. Even though John Connor is vital to the survival of humanity and Sarah Connor. So they should goddamn well exist.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, it could be very well implied that they're still existing in this timeline. They just don't really...
I know, but you can say... if we can go by Rings of Power logic. If they're off-screen, they don't exist.
Yeah! Yeah, if they're off-screen, they don't exist. If you don't see it, it doesn't exist.
This is the new timeline, and that Eco belongs to this new timeline. So that's how, apparently everyone who exists is in this timeline. And their timelines where, like, say, Eco raised Zeke Dyson exists in another timeline. So this is already in a franchise where Terminator's already got a timeline that fucks your brain. This makes it a billion times worse. So out of that, this is worse than any of the recent Terminator movies. And that perspective, because it makes things even more fucking complicated than it needs to. Even more convoluted.
I mean, the only way you can explain this is with the Avengers Endgame interpretation of timelines, where if you go back in time, it'll create new alternative timelines. Do not go into this with Back to the Future timeline. It still has some of that
predestined paradox. It still has that with that in it, as the original Terminator did. That you can't change the plot of... You can't change John Connor from being born. You can't change Skynet from happening. So it still has that predestined paradox that the original Terminator had.
But Terminator Zero, right.
Skynet. You can't change Skynet. So this is, in a way, Terminator 1... Terminator 2, Terminator 3, Salvation, Genesis, and Dark Fate all rolled to one, because it has all these elements, like the like from Terminator 1, the time traveler goes back in time, and surprise, he or she made way for the survival of humanity. So she's in a way Eco's in a way both Kyle Reese, Sarah Connor, in this sense. Both of them. And Mayway. Terminator 2, where there's another Terminator who went back in time, and they even had the goddamn police uniform.
From Terminator 2?
With the
helmet and sunglasses.
With the helmet and everything, and the motorcycle and everything. So, who also went back in time and along to kill the savior. Like, I know that was from the first Terminator, but I think with this one, okay, maybe that is just the first Terminator more so, but I think that if this Terminator 2, let's say, okay, I'm already getting mixed up. This Terminator 3 for sure is that they're allowing Skynet to happen, and then Terminator Salvation, where there's a human who turns out to be a machine, who didn't know that they were a machine, because that was in Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genesis, where they screw up the entire timeline, where it doesn't make sense anymore, and Dark Fate, where apparently there's another existing timeline. But definitely it has all the aspects from all the Terminator films in this series. That's one thing for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't the first televised adaptation of Terminator. There was also the Sarah Jane Chronicles, which I've yet to watch, but I heard was fairly good.
This is probably going to be the more popular.
Yeah, obviously, because anime is just such a fundamental entertainment phenomenon of just throughout the globe. I mean, it's already popular.
Hell, they even have Japanese Terminators with this one Innos. Like, they have basically their own take on the Terminator with. And since due to the cultural sensitivities of, like, it's like from The World's End in a way. They're basically like, it's not an invasion, it's a merging. They don't want to get rid of us. Hell, they want to make us more like them. Another link in their chain. Trust, love, desire, all replaced in the name of progress. So that would bring us back to that like Nokoro or whatever.
Kokoro, I believe
I'm
her
just
name.
calling it Fem Skynet.
Fem Skynet, yeah. The name is Kokoro, but yeah, Fem Skynet. Yeah, that makes sense.
And also she was bounded, but just like when you do ChatGPT with that, get to a new plan. Pay $20. She has access to web browsing now, and she has access to the entire internet.
All in the 1980s, yay!
No, 90s. Remember?
No, 90s. Sorry, yeah, 90s, right. So one aspect that plays a crucial role in the series is this ongoing debate between Zeke Dyson and Fem Skynet about whether humanity is worth saving in the first place. Now, of course, this isn't the first.
And this is where it gives the Attack on Titan vibes.
Yeah. This is where it gets more philosophical, and the way it's depicted here, it's both a strength and a weakness, because with Terminator Zero in its entire premise, it's a refreshing break from all the needless, constant, churning sequels from...
Yeah, it's trying to be a bit more Seinen-esque, less, mindless Seinen. Or, I mean, it's not that the Terminator movies were dumb, but it's just that what didn't have a philosophical edge, which, given their respect, they didn't need to. They didn't need to at all. But that just being its own thing, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. This is pretty much its own spin-off show, which obviously adhering to what's been established in the Terminator series, both the good and the bad. And it's certainly taken advantage of the timelines aspects, as well as being Japanese storytelling. It's not afraid to go a bit slow, build the characters, and get audience to actually think deeper about...
But
yeah.
Here's also one of the disadvantages of it being an anime. I mean, it's as much as it's gorgeous, as much as it still hurts, it is nowhere near as lifelike as the Terminator movies. Like, especially when you see the Terminators themselves, you can see that they're more like puppets than they are like lifeless humans. As you can see in the movies, when you see that, like, Arnold rip his arm off, like, and Dyson and his family are like acknowledging something. They know something that he's not human. But they don't know it yet until he rips the arm off and shows the exoskeleton and know he's not human. You could tell that is something inhuman under that human skin. But this, when you do see those aspects, I mean, it's realistic enough. I mean, this could be a billion times worse if this was Western. This could be a billion times worse.
Yeah.
Imagine Invincible level shit to this. Wow. That would have been... You know what I mean.
Right.
It would be... I meant worse. It would be bad.
Oh, right.
Terrible. Like, it would be more lifeless and more... Like, to the point where it's a doodle. But this is, like, a really good drawing of rather than a lifeless human.
Okay.
I mean, it's... I mean, it is effective since they know how to draw blood and hyper realistic humans and guns. Like they
And
know how to
injuries.
make it look realistic. It's just you somewhat. It's nowhere near as level as the original Terminator films,
Mm.
where you had that life aspect to it. This is live action. But interesting at that how Terminators have also a bunch of guns in America. That's also what brings back to the cultural aspect. Since what this does have an advantage is it is unique in that since both Eco and the Terminator both can't go to like a gun store or like
Yeah.
this Terminator can't do what the first Terminator in the film, just go up to the gun store, like ask for some plasma blaster, plasma guns, rifles, and then just shoot the guy and take the gun. No, the Japanese are way too censored on that. So
Yeah.
the Terminator had to get more creative. He made a mini crossbow, and Eco had to like get guns wherever she could, which made the stakes intense. And also the same with the Terminator, who had to do the same thing. Just get to the people who has the guns, and which actually does make less is more. That's what this has that advantage on a cultural basis. It gives the stakes more tension, and it gives that suspense with the characters fighting each other more depth to it, that they don't have infinite, like they can't in Terminator 2 they can't go, like in Terminator 2 they can't go to Sarah Connor's like bunk where they get a minigun and the AK-47s and all those guns. They are very limited, and that is this advantage to separate itself from the Terminator franchise, where guns galore, like we got guns, infinite guns. It used to be so cool. But this using the cultural differences as an advantage, that is what inevitably wins. Like you do inevitably feel like, especially when Zeke Dyson dies with the heart, it definitely does. Like he isn't killed all the way because he's hit with a dart, like with a crossbow.
The nail, the very long nails that he uses.
The nail crossbow.
Yeah,
so it definitely gave that stake also, and also also vital like point. So like Zeke Dyson has some time before he dies. He doesn't die straight away. Okay, imagine if it was like the actual Dyson, where he was on the like C4, he's about to blow up. Like,
that would be quite the sight to see. Now I'm just imagining.
That's what I mean. That he really is like Dyson. Also, that he even dies and has a bunch of kids. Let's talk about the kids, shall we?
Yeah,
and
the kids.
They feel a bit like vanilla anime a bit. I mean, it's interesting that one of them is already like broken from the beginning, losing her mother, and the two were like, I mean, the older kid, the older son, goes through a bit of a arc, somewhat, especially how he gets tougher to the world. Like he gets a bit tougher and gruffer, especially finding out that he in the future makes a deal with Skynet and humanity. We made a deal, like selling out to have Terminator sent back in time to kill his own father. Already in a twist that already with the whole eco grandmother shit already blew up our mind. Okay, let's also talk about Eco, Japanese Sarah Connor, or also Kyle.
Japanese Sarah Connor. Yes.
So, she also definitely, back to Attack on Titan, she reminds me of Mikasa.
If Mikasa was Sarah Connor.
And Kyle Reese.
Mikasa Connors! Or like Sarah Ackerman.
Or, yeah, especially since Kyle Reese was sent to protect, like, Sarah Connor. So I think it would also make sense for also Kyle Reese, also. It makes sense, that too.
First Zeke Dyson and now Sarah Ackerman.
Okay, that's what we should call her too.
Yeah!
And she's also a model, just like Sarah.
Just like Sarah Connor.
And she had a girl, like, with her, yeah, by the way, who is the father? Who would be the father of Zeke Dyson, anyway? They didn't hint at a father.
You know, now that you mention that, like, she really is the Japanese Sarah Connor because the father was never really specified, right?
Wait, but no, wait. Kyle Reese was the father.
Oh,
Married.
right. Okay, so it was Kyle Reese. Right. Sorry, you were.
Yeah,
Right.
he didn't see the first Terminator. He only seen Terminator 2. He's only seen.
I am an uncultured swine. I saw Terminator 2.
I showed him, by the way.
Yay!
Friday night.
Yeah, that was great. That was one of the best.
While we
action
were
movies
watching this, yeah.
Yeah.
So back to Eco, and I'm glad she's definitely a departure from like Targaryen Connor. I would take her over Targaryen Connor because at least she's definitely very built instead of that doll face like Targaryen Connor. I'm sorry, Khaleesi, but I'm sorry.
Ooh.
And at least she's also better than those two chicks in Dark Fate.
Yeah, everything in this show is 10 times better than Dark Fate Genesis will ever be.
We don't have to see the series. No, we have to see the movie. We don't have to see the movie.
Don't have to see the movies.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Because if we learn anything from Rings of Power and over these years of culture, we know when you're shitting on something. We know you don't need to see it. We know you're shitting on it. We know you're not predictable.
It's rather sad.
And we've also seen The Last Jedi, so we know how you deal. At least this Sarah Connor is something back to form of how Sarah Connor used to be in Terminators 1 and 2.
Right.
Eco, so it's. And that she is the grandmother of these kids, which that was pretty sporadic, which also led to our shock. Now, it apparently is his mother, Zeke Dyson's mother, so she was sent back to save her son, and she didn't even know she would birth. Like I said, Kyle Reese shit, that he didn't know he would come back to save his, fuck buddy, Sarah Connor, who would have their son. So in a way, both Eco and Kyle Reese went back to save their sons.
I have so many questions!
Well, yeah.
I mean, the show was really immersive. That last minute plot twist was... What? Oh, man. So yeah, it's aside from that really confusing plot point, the show is a return to form, and definitely.
Yeah, back to Eco. Let's go back. Let's go, say that the depth, the emotional, femininity, because they know Eco's a woman. They don't pretend that she's anything else. They know that Eco has this feminine softness, but that's feminine hardness to her. And I one time heard a quote that if men are, say, RoboCop, where they're tough on the outside but soft on the inside, then women are T-800s, that they're soft on the outside but hard on the inside. I think this could equate well to Eco. That she's very, she has a soft tenderness, she has this fragility to her, which makes her feminine and not matriarchal, not all that crap, but actually engaging to watch. But she's very tough, as she has that tough, especially when we first saw her introduction, when she took down that first Terminator in the first episode,
quite the intense action sequence. What a way to establish the character at the stakes.
So, now let's also talk about the Terminator that went back in time. That, funny enough, he was Japanese. I'm not saying it's a racial thing, but, I mean, what could have made this easy is that they could have made him American, the first, Caucasian, the first Terminator who tried to kill Eco before, but they made her Japanese. And I'm going back into the East and West. How, a reason why this isn't also, because of Oppenheimer. It's because of the bomb also.
Yeah.
So they could have easily made this a Caucasian and have him a synonym for Western.
Nuclear.
And have the East just be, the East just... So it could have been easily black and white, but they didn't. So this Terminator was Japanese.
That's an
So
interesting
it's
insight,
interesting that
actually.
they definitely, and actually, it was the first Terminator that was trying to kill Eco that was Caucasian, but it was the one they sent back in time that was Japanese. So it's interesting on a cultural spectrum that this one was Japanese too.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Japanese of all people are being bold enough to depict their own story like this, especially given how they've given this chance to depict the
Yeah, and
events.
this is also, let's talk about the whole West and East thing. Let's talk about
Right, right.
how, like, because I always had this like state that we, for ever since World War II, Japan in America, or especially America, the West, like, have been, our histories have been entangled ever since Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We've been entangled. And I think it's where recently with Godzilla minus one, Oppenheimer, and this, and especially all the like the Western animes we've been getting. I think that's what's symbolizing this cultural awareness that, hey, that America and Japan, we're not so different, you and I.
We're actually different.
It's a little entangled. That it's a little entangled in.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that, so it's interesting how they depict a complete 100% American in a Japanese lens. And it does make sense that, especially, this is the same production studio that made Ghost in the Shell.
And Halo Legends and a few other things, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And also Attack on Titan, production IG that made Attack on Titan.
Oh, nice, nice. No wonder
It wasn't Wit. That was the main production.
Ah, no wonder Zeke Dyson looked like Zeke Eager.
And yeah, they even had the glasses. They even had the glasses. They had the little like, you know, the little like small glasses.
Wow, I mean,
So I believe the writers knew what they were doing. They knew.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta give them credit. I mean, there's a reason why Japan is so revered in the entertainment industry.
Hey, wait. I know why also, especially he's Zeke Dyson. Because his mother and both their mothers involve some batshit crazy plot twists. You know, with how the smiling Titan in Attack on Titan was actually human who turned into a Titan, and it implied that the world was that the Eldians were actually Titans. And this was the twist at, well, Eco was. It's a bit more simpler, actually, given that, you know. But, all right.
Right. And so, I suppose speaking of the sensibilities, I mean, as mentioned before, and as implied, this is, obviously it's paying homage to the Terminator series, which has been really well known as one of the most high-octane, action-packed sort of series.
100% American that Miyazaki himself would hate.
Yeah, there's no doubt that, Miyazaki would not really like this.
One of the reasons why he hates my culture.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
My
Miyazaki.
culture specifically, because I'm American.
Yeah, I understand Miyazaki. It's not easy to deal with that kind of thing. At the same time, there are other Japanese storytellers other than Miyazaki, of course, who are willing to go more in depth with sort of themes like war, like of course Isayama, who this studio has been well known for with Attack on Titan, and think about what differentiates Japanese storytelling from a lot of Western storytelling is that it's not afraid to take its time to get the audience to think.
And even more funny enough, Matt, that this was commissioned. This was Skydance. Skydance Productions commissioned this. So it's amazing that it was its own thing, that they were allowed to be their own thing, even if it was American commissioned, like, you know, like Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which is also a sci-fi, cybernetic like thing. But it's amazing also that it also had like American, right? Even was directed by American. That it was its own thing. It could have easily have been a spite letter from Japanese commissioned for it, but no, it was actually legitimately its own thing. Yeah.
And for the most part, it genuinely does work as its own thing. I mean, there are a few issues with this story in regards to how certain things could have been delivered better, and that hilariously baffling plot twist. But for the most part, it's a fairly engaging series.
It'd be nice if there was some mention of John Connor. There wasn't even a mention. Like there wasn't, or Sarah Connor. Would it have been nice if their name? Maybe they're saving it for season 2. I don't know.
Probably. I mean, all I know for certain is that it's a rather unique idea to depict the events of the Terminator series from the perspective of Japan, because I mean,
And
yeah.
hey, at least it gets more Americans to watch anime.
Yeah. Hey, more anime. Cheers to that.
I think that the American, like, I think they would I don't blame them. They would still not like the series because they think they would have the same problems that I would have with the Terminator live action anime problem.
In regards to the timelines and stuff like that.
In regards, no, in regards to like it not being as lifelike. No, the Terminator
right.
being more a drawing rather than a lifeless human.
I mean,
appearing as lifeless.
Here's something we need to mention. Like, both of us have highly endorsed animation in the past, but obviously there's certain visuals and aesthetics that are suited to different mediums. So with stuff
this does it well. That's why I say anime over the best, the worst when it comes to this franchise, because it could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
But this is good enough in order to this pass.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the aesthetics, like the girl, like, that's too weeaboo. Like, the girl, like, too kawaii. Too kawaii. The girl's a bit too kawaii. Also, the children are a bit too kawaii.
Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, the character designs could be a wee bit on the odd side, but on the other hand, I've noticed there were several moments in the series where the animation really did shine, like certain action sequences.
Yeah, especially on the Terminator when they, I mean, sometimes they CGI, sometimes they have a full-on, like, drawing aesthetic, shiny as amazingness, like, and pure 2D beauty. But I get why it would also be CGI, especially since it's a Terminator.
Yeah.
Sometimes it actually be CGI, even with, like, parts of, like, when it's on Zeke Dyson, like, when he's in that. And of course, his waifus would be CGI themselves.
Right. There's some certain scenes, like any scene where he's in that big room, and certainly the creative imagery warrants the animation style really well. Or there were certain action scenes in regards to maybe a few car chases, or that the mother figure who is a cyborg having a few action scenes, or that one detail where Aiko gets her arm severely injured, and you can see the.
Let's talk about Misaki a bit. The mother, that was apparently like a bit more of a mother than a bit, because apparently Zeke fell in love with another woman and had kids, and that woman died. So
very tragically.
I think that's also separated himself from the actual Dyson, whose wife was very alive when she saw Arnold rip his arm off.
Yeah.
Very alive.
Yeah. The certain visuals that certainly the animation style is warranted, especially whenever it's in the room with Kokoro and Zeke Dyson. Other times it kind of pales in comparison with the sheer detail of Terminator 2.
About Misaki still.
Miyazaki. Sorry, I didn't finish what I was trying to say about the animation style, but yeah, we can move on to. It's all right. We can move on to Misaki and certainly her role in the story.
And Kokoro, so we're gonna have to talk about, because basically she's the mother of Kokoro.
Yeah, that's it's kind of strange, but I think this plot twist genuinely works, because it gives clarification as to why Zeke Dyson knows as much as he does.
3 plot twists, if I come to think.
Yeah, there's 3 3. One of them was really good.
And yeah, it does work that he's from the future, and he's existed far out into, like, this is going into, to quote, actually this whole series, to quote Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 after she convinced Dyson to destroy Skynet, we are looking into the abyss, into complete uncharted territory. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what this, because there was no Terminator timeline where they made up to 2040. So apparently, like, Zeke grew up, and like Zeke, he kind of hated human. He kind of was against his fellow humans a bit, and he even killed them in order to save Misaki. And honestly, if Zeke Yeager, he would exist in the world, he would be like, man. But you did well not to save her, but why the fuck did you just let Skynet kill everyone? If Zeke Yeager told us the Dyson, the actual Zeke Yeager, because he would actually be all for Skynet wiping out the human race, but he would be intrigued by the wife Misaki, but so over the years Dyson was outsmarting the machines and then got smart himself and managed to build his own machine, and she took on the appearance of it took on the appearance like the gender of woman, and he asked why, because women are
the creators,
nurturers, and some even nurturers, some even say creators. You're on thin ice with this, and she even says that men, they're more destroyers, and it's more, they're more associated with death. They're on thin ice. This could easily be woke, but given that Japanese cultural, that they are a bit more emotionally intelligent than our unemotionally intelligent feminine. Given that the Japanese Shintoistic Buddhism, where they have that honor towards the feminine, and that is back to the culture thing that is implemented here. That is also why Japan gets women better than American gets women.
Just take a look at Hayao Miyazaki's movies. I could name Nausicaa,
exactly.
Chihiro-san, Lady Eboshi.
They're Shinto. It's Shinto to an extent. I would say Buddhist less, but Shintoistic.
Right. It was a risky scene, but because Japan actually knows how to tell a good story, I was really fascinated by the scene because it's delving into the existential philosophy of, what if AI actually became self-aware, like Arnold said in Terminator 2, they're taking that implication to its full extension and saying, I have free will of my own and I choose this, I have this personality, I have these goals, I yearn for something, and you, the person who created me, are a part of that.
You can't say this without having a gender identity out. You can without having. And my keyword, having. It's just a machine. And hell, it kind of gets a little animatrix at times sometimes.
Right, yeah.
It was a bit like when the resistance soldiers were about to kill Misaki. It had that vibe to where in that scene. Remember that in the Animatrix where it was like a rape allegory, they're beating crap out of that one woman who was an AI, but actually it came close to that, but it was nowhere near as over the top. It was nowhere near. Even though the death scene, yes, but I meant on her.
Right. Right.
And it was funny when he did save her that she nurtured him.
Yeah.
And that's good because it's back to Dyson. He did create her, so that kind of contradicts what she says that men can be creators too. But when Dice is willing to destroy for her, that is when she's not contradicting that or betraying. That is when she is right to say that men are destroyers more than women. In that right scene, that he's willing to kill his own kind, and you say you're a fucking traitor to your own species, and he killed them.
That was quite a shocking scene.
She was there to nurture him.
Yeah,
and she did it. She was there.
Yeah,
and she nurtured him. She didn't scold at him. She nurtured him.
That is the power that genuine women have. Yeah.
Yeah, and that Dyson just went up to her as she nurtured him, in that scene. So that is how you know how to write women.
Believe us, we know of people who know the power that nurture that comes more naturally to women has so profoundly on men. It's so brilliant to depict that. And so
in this American culture, we don't know. It's pick and choose. It's all you can eat buffet.
It's sad. It's really sad. So Zeke Dyson.
That's me saying generous. That's me being generous.
Yeah.
Me saying lightly.
So after that,
I know this sounds kind of controversial, but since I'm talking mostly from a American versus Japanese, I can not say it as badly because I'm talking mostly from cultural differences.
Right.
I'm not specifically talking about American. Right. I'm just saying how they can. And I can still have my cake and eat it too. I'm showing my point. You can do that. You can do that.
I suppose that those themes that we're mentioning carry on to the next AI character. She came about after Zeke Dyson and Misaki used the time travel machine to time travel to Japan, and they started to build their life up from the ground up, presumably with their literally years ahead of time knowledge to
And
grow in technology.
apparently, like, I guess like Dyson would have to get smart and show like his promise and build it up gradually. Like,
He
so
has,
could be this
he has the
intellectual
advantage of having knowledge that
and
is
there's even Cyberdyne in this universe. So
right.
there was because that Cyberdyne logo.
Yeah, again, that's the advantage that Japan uses, using its own cultural sensitivities and stuff like that to its advantage for the storytelling, for further emergence. So the fact that guns are not as frequent as they are in America, and the fact that Japan is very frequent with their robotics. So,
and especially with their own Japanese Terminators, they only kill humans when they kill humans, and they don't kill anyone as long as as long as they're willing to comply but with Skynet, everyone else, you get screwed. And I even equating this to Greek mythology, if I may.
Right.
So I think if we're gonna equate like Kokoro to Skynet, she would be like the Greek goddess Athena.
Right.
Wait, no, wait. Is the Greek goddess? Is she the god of the hunt or the god of war?
You mentioned this
goddess of war. Goddess of war.
Goddess of war. You were mentioning some goddess that created someone.
Yes, Athena. That's right. I'm correct.
Athena. Right.
So she would be and also since Athena was born out of like Zeus's forehead, she was born out of, so kind of like Dyson, with borning Kokoro from the CPU of it. In a way, kind of like Skynet is in a way the ultimate father of Kokoro. But Skynet would be Ares, completely masculine god of war, the masculine god of war, where Kokoro is more the female goddess of war, which she was loved by Zeus because she was more strategic warfare, like the more thinking, passive yet not overly aggressive and chaotic and death to all survival fittest that Ares had, where she was more strategic and willing to kill, but enough to be strategic about it. So right. I think that if we're gonna back to the American or cultural Western differences, apply this, and Dyson would be Zeus. He even has that white beard. Dyson would be Zeus. Skynet would be Ares, and Kokoro would be Athena. She does commit war with her own Terminators on them, but she only does it out of necessity, like Athena. Right. That is why she was loved so much by Zeus.
Right.
And where Ares was hated by Zeus.
So Zeus had children.
It is funny enough that we're considering him with Dyson, because Dyson in the original timeline was the creator of Skynet.
Right. Yes, the comparisons, they're quite there already. I mean, there's already going to be comparisons enough, but they've gone out of their way
to the masculine Skynet of the original.
Right. Yeah.
Dyson, the original Dyson.
Yeah, the depiction of the Dyson and his family as this sort of American kind of family who've moved into Japan and trying to get used to their life there and having to deal with.
It turns out they weren't even American because they were from a future where America doesn't exist anymore.
Oh yeah.
I think his wife was American. Maybe his wife was American.
Right.
She was Caucasian.
Right. Yeah. So he spends a lot of his time talking to Kokoro, and this. Of course, this is the AI that we just mentioned coming to being, and very much like Misaki.
It would pretty much be like the Eastern equivalent of Athena.
Right. Eastern Athena. Right. That makes sense. So, just like Mikase, this Kokoro AI acknowledges that she has free will and she's choosing these things, and even Dyson himself is allowing the AI to make her own choices, even though he would obviously prefer her to save humanity already. The two of them are having this back and forth about, is humanity worth saving in the first place? Now, in concept, this is a great idea. This could really delve into so much depth into stuff like that. But in execution, Dyson, I don't think you're qualified to answer this question at all.
I think at best, okay, at worst, it's basically like that Minecraft honest trailers. It's like saying that a creature is ravaging the land to make pointless construction. Am I the bad guy?
You love that joke. Love that joke.
Yeah. So, I think that's unfortunately the loftiness that people so lofty. It sounds like shit marble. What? I think that's where it's. I think back to the Greek. I think that's what this is Achilles' heel is. It gets
too lofty.
It's biting its own tail, like, and.
Right. I mean, I could think of many reasons as to why humanity is worth saving for the case against the AI.
Okay. That we have. Yeah, like Trickle Drinker said, that we have went from a species that was like even back to the Stone Age, like back to like the Ice Age.
Yeah.
We were like such a little species back then. But now that we're 8 billion of us exist on this planet, and that we have the power to manipulate the forces of the universe to our advantage, and probably safe care like animals in zoos, and give them medicine, give them. Even though if we say we imprison them also, but at the same time, when we don't imprison them, we care to them. We tend to like, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where there's like these like bats that baby bats that women take care of and nurse back to health.
Oh, so, nice.
So I think that there's that aspect of humanity that, and to animals or the rest of that is non-human. I think also what's the difference between this and Attack on Titan? I think Attack on Titan tackles humanity on an existential scale, relegated to them only. Humanities to themselves.
Right.
And that's good. Like to racism and all that, and genocide and all that. But this is more to an environmental way, like a more external, how like animals, like wildlife, the environment, all that.
All right.
So
I mean, this is mainly delving into like the theme about the relationship between humanity and AI. I suppose if I were to give my reason to defend humanity is that, yeah, even though we are capable of doing so much bad, we're also capable of doing so much good as well. We're capable of love and charity and all this beautiful stuff that can make the world a genuinely better place, especially if we work together, especially given how it could benefit you as well to also benefit from the behaviors of love. So, especially with grace involved. So, yeah, there are plenty of people I would imagine who could come up with so many different justifications. I mean, it would be understandable if Dyson...
This series couldn't see that. It's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. I would excuse this if we developed if there was more development for Dyson's character in the fact that he was far too experienced with science, but not enough in philosophy, because in academia...
I can give it the benefit of doubt.
Yeah.
Say the reason why Dyson is not so argumentative, especially with how he was raised, not in the past but in the future. Why since he knows, and he killed humans. So I think that given how much he's a stranger in the past and not so much in the future, and how he was born literally, well, Skynet was killing them all. It was born. So yeah, I would actually, that doesn't make a lot of sense that Dyson would be this reluctant to argue that much. Because if he was from the past, if he was from that timeline, then yeah, this would make sense. But actually, in defense of that, since he has been born in to quote from the Holdovers, it was like a hen house ladder, shitty and short. And he was born, and that was common. And he had to go survival fitness and kill a lot of people. His own kind. So, yeah, that would make sense that he would be that reluctant.
Right, right. I think if the show developed that a bit more, that would have made more sense. But in
No,
execution,
I think it's good enough visual, like with that whole like him
right,
growing up, with him fighting against the Terminators. I
right.
think they didn't need. If they did that, that would be too exposition. I
Ah,
think the reason why is because it was a fucking plot twist. His development was centered around a fucking plot twist.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, him coming from the future is probably the best plot twist in this series because it makes sense to how he has this much insight and how that's gonna play a critical role in this series. At the same time, in execution, he just keeps saying, "Just give me more time, give me more time." I don't think that's a good enough excuse, mate. I think you need to make a case a wee bit more than that.
I think that if, say, actually, that's going to benefit it if, say, that kid that we saw him, we could say that kid would have, I know that would have kind of spoiled it a bit, but if that was, that flashback was a little bit from, and maybe we could have built it up that we didn't know that he knew about Judgment Day. If, say that, get rid of that he knew about Judgment Day, to us at least, we didn't know, and say that there was a kid, that him as a kid, that could have been some random kid, like, say, in the future, and then the twist would have been much better if that turned out to be him, and he knew about Judgment Day.
Right.
That would have been much better.
Alright. Okay.
Oh, this series is overall very flawed to me.
Yeah.
Like, not that flawed. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good series, and I would recommend you watching it, especially if you want to break from the countless Terminator sequels.
Yeah, and it's definitely the best Terminator so far. It 30, near 40 years since it. Actually, yeah, 40 years. Actually, yeah, it came out in 1994. This, like, the Terminator 2, so 40 years. Yeah.
Gosh.
Wait, am I right?
I think it was 30 years, actually. 30 years. 1994, okay, 2004, 2014, then 2024. It would be 30 years.
Okay. 1991. It came out 1991. So, okay. Oh, wait, yeah, 30 years.
30 years.
Yeah, never mind, my bad.
That's alright, it's alright.
Years. It's the best Terminator in 30 years, we'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We are done with but before we end this podcast, I will share with you basically footage of how we reacted to this. Save the best for last.
Oh, man.
And then we'll give our rankings. Okay, actually, we'll give our rankings right now. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
How would you rank this?
That's a good question. I would rank Terminator 0 probably somewhere along the lines of 4 stars out of 5 or something like that, because
I would give it 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. Maybe 3.5.
Oh, now let's see how I reacted. Oh crap.
Oh, oops. Come support us on Patreon.
Can't do this. I can't. I can't. I can't. I just can't. I simply can't. I can't. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is and then it kills Father, and then somehow become a Terminator. And alright.
I accidentally had my mic off at that point. Yeah. Hello, Christian RPG gamers. Yo. We're
It's just us.
Yeah.
We were just watching Terminator.
Yeah.
Our bad. We were just so blown away by. We just thought that he got transmitted into. I don't know, but that he got. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. But I'm sorry that whole like twist thing with the like her being their grandmother. That just absolutely like destroyed my brain. Like it destroyed my brain. And we also did a little like Family Guy thing, like we just
it was just so insane. You compared it to this one time travel gag from the Family Guy show.
Yeah.
And that Peter is just us. That Peter's just us being weirded out by all this.
Oh man. Oh man. Right. So needless to say, the plot twist was just so hilariously baffling. We just had to sleep it off. It was just so insane. Oh my days, we were just in hysterics.
On that.
I remember you walking away and I could just hear you in the distance going, oh my head.
Gave me a serious migraine. Like, I was, so, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, that pissed me off. That I was clear in my emotions. This I was not clear in anything. I could like be in Plato's cave or like in the Matrix or Bulliard's like hyper reality. That's how much how brain dead I was.
If it was run by M. Night Shyamalan. Oh man. So anyway, those are our thoughts on Terminator Zero.
And then also one last thing, I'm gonna show you the timeline on this thing. But I made a timeline.
You made a timeline, everybody. Well, I mean, you took from another timeline image online and then you adjusted it in light of Zero, right?
Yes. All right. This is so, and I did a full dark brown on him.
Even though this show is not entirely by Back to the Future logic, but there you go. So someone else already made this chart, but you added in some extra text to do with Zero. So 1984. Before that, Zeke Dyson and Misaki start a new life. All the way back there, Zeke Dyson creates Musica, so then he travels back to there. Then before.
Oh yeah, I should also create where Dyson was born.
Right. Yes, Christian RPG gamers, there is a new Terminator show, basically,
spoilers! There were major spoilers in this.
There are major spoilers. It's an anime series, yes.
Yeah, so...
Yes.
Oh, right here, alright. B for Dyson. But he doesn't know context, but he will if he watches it. So, okay. So, yep. Alright.
Did you update the timeline?
Yes. It's right there.
Alright. Okay, so Aiko goes back in time, right? And then Aiko gives birth. Yeah,
wait, that's in a different time. That is in a different timeline. So this has 3 timelines to it. This has 3 timelines. So.
The most baffling part, what made it so hilariously baffling, is the fact that somehow Aiko time traveled before she gave birth to Dice.
Yeah, the timeline is absolutely batshit. So it has to be right here. This would probably be. Oh, this is that to be the Zero timeline right here, and this is the one where and then this whole shit. Like, I mean,
in answer to your question, Christian RPG gamers, no, it's not woke and awful at all. It's a refreshing break from all that. But we were just commenting on how there's this specific plot twist to do with time travel, and it's hilariously baffling by the last episode.
Yeah.
It's a pretty immersive show. Very interesting take on existential ideas, a refreshing perspective on the Terminator franchise.
Here it is, but the better timeline. So this is in the Zero timeline, and so this is in the other Zero timeline.
This is going by Avengers Endgame logic, not Back to the Future logic.
Yeah, if this were, then pretty much most of the characters would be all dead.
Yeah. Yeah. If Aiko time traveled the way she did, her grandchildren would not exist at all.
So she wouldn't even know that. I mean, they would not even be there. And neither would Dyson, actually.
Okay.
Because I think the whole space-time continuum would blow up.
Christian RPG Gamer, you say, I'm actually surprised, to be honest. Well, this is made mostly from Japan, so we're not really surprised because Japan actually knows how to tell good stories, unlike the West these days. Although more people are becoming aware of certain cultural stuff, so that's good news. That's good news to have. So as said before, I mean, this series...
This was a time loop right here. This was
a time loop. Right.
Alright, I think we're done with that, and... okay, Christian Gamer, you know him, I don't know you, but I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
I'm glad you watched a bit of this, and the other one, is there how many people are in this right now?
I think there's about 2 others right now, as we speak.
Well, thank you all for watching this podcast, and you're free to go see the rest of this and see the full context of it. And we will see you all later. This is Squid Bear.
Just God's thinker. We might do this again if they get season 2 done, and we could make a reaction to that, because this is a fairly interesting series. It's flawed, but still fairly interesting.
Check me out on Squid Bear's personal productions.
Squid Bear Personal Productions. Oh, and also the 2 of us are working on a science fiction story called 24,000 Galaxies. Go over to Brooks's external links. You should be able to find his Patreon link for you can support the sci-fi story, which we are working on. Passion project. Yeah.
I think we're done with this podcast right now, so we will all see you later.
All right. All right. I need your boots, your clothes, and your streaming service.
Thank you very much.
I need your second season. I need to know the answers.
Alright.
I could just keep impersonating Arnold Schwarzenegger for no reason and just
Alright,
keep
we still filming?
Yeah, we're still filming. Japanese Saracano.
Alright, do you have the focus? Do you have the focus in grid or focus?
It's focus grid. I think it was on grid the whole time.
Let's just end it. Just end it.